There's a truth you might be ignoring right now, something sharp underneath all the noise of pitches, term sheets, and boardroom talk. Here's the raw deal. Most of what you see out there, most of what's called innovation or disruption, is just selling a fantasy. It looks shiny, it talks big, it promises the moon and stars, but deep down, it's just smoke and mirrors. And you know it, don't you? The itch you feel when you sit back and ask yourself if what you're building, backing, or throwing your energy into actually solves a problem that matters, or if it's just a castle in the air, beautiful but empty inside. Because at the end of the day, founders, investors, leaders, this is your crossroads. Are you the person who faces the ugly, real pain, cuts through the bullshit, and delivers something raw, something real? Or are you caught up in the hypnotic dance of dreams that vanish at the slightest touch? Feel it. The crushing weight when you pour your soul and work into something, and it stares back, silent, irrelevant, useless. The looming fear that the market doesn't care, the end user won't switch. The problem you think you're solving isn't a problem at all. You're desperate to believe you're making a dent, changing the game, not just painting over cracks. Because you know, somewhere in your gut, the difference is massive. Solving a problem means waking up every morning to face brutal truths, dealing with the messiness, the unglamorous grind no one speaks about. It means listening harder than you've ever listened, because the problem doesn't care about your pitch deck, your shiny prototype, or your perfect demo. It cares about pain, that exact pain that keeps customers up late at night, that gnaws at industries, that refuses to be ignored. Selling a fantasy? That's the easy way out. Chasing trends, buzzwords, investor envy, but none of it sticks. None of it lands when the spotlight fades. And here lies the cruel irony. The world screams for solutions, but it's drowning in fantasies. Everyone wants to save the world, but no one wants to get dirty. Everyone wants to be seen as a trailblazer, but few want to admit the trail is full of thorns. That's why most startups fail. That's why most investments never see the light of true impact. You've been told to think big, disrupt, change the game, without a single glance at whether what you're offering actually makes life better, easier, or different in a way that matters. You're surrounded by smoke and mirrors, and it's not your fault. The system is rigged to seduce you with myths, outsized valuations, endless funding rounds, hype cycles that trick you into forgetting the basics. But those basics are more important than ever. Real pain points, brutally honest user research, relentless iteration guided by humble listening. Now imagine flipping the script entirely. Imagine standing apart from the endless echo chamber of hype. Imagine waking up every single day obsessed with one question. What problem do I solve that people literally cannot live without fixing? What suffering do I relieve? What barrier do I shatter that brings tangible relief to lives filled with noise, distraction, complexity, and confusion? This obsession with real problems, that's your superpower. Because the moment your product or service becomes more than a fantasy, you forge something unbreakable. Trust. And trust is your currency. Not fancy logos on your website, not viral marketing campaigns, not buzzwords that fade by next quarter. Trust is what builds empires. Trust is what hooks users to come back, what turns investors into believers, what transforms teams from employees into warriors. You have to see it clearly. No sugarcoating. Founders and leaders fail when they forget the human struggle behind the data points. When they forget how deeply painful real problems are. When they get caught selling a dream that feels good but crumbles under pressure because it was never built for gravity. And yet, the solution is so damn simple. It's about becoming obsessed with reality over fantasy. About digging past surface-level success metrics and chasing signals that scream real impact. It's about relentless empathy, walking miles in the shoes of your users until you know their pain better than they do. Not for applause. Not for awards. For the chance to create something that lasts, something meaningful. Here's where most miss the real edge. You can't fake solving a problem. You can't squint your eyes and call a wish a solution. The world is ruthless. The market is merciless. And if your product collapses under scrutiny, it's because it's a fantasy, not a solution. That's terrifying, but it's also liberating, because it means if you commit to truth, if you commit to raw, unfiltered reality, you stand apart instantaneously. Imagine being among those rare few who say no to the noise, no to the hype, no to the easy path, and instead dedicate everything to clarity, to depth, to transformation. Imagine rallying around that one brutal truth, rejecting the comfortable illusions that keep millions stuck in mundane mediocrity. This is the sharp edge where greatness lives, not in the comfort zone, not in the polished presentations, but in the mess of actual human pain. And that's where you find the lifeblood of your company, your investment, your mission. People don't want fantasies. They want solutions that change something fundamental in their lives or their work. That's where money flows. That's where loyalty is forged. That's where impact begins. The world is begging for those bold enough to step away from the scripted pitches and step into the raw chaos where problems actually live. If you chase fantasies, you're building on sand. If you chase real problems, you're building cathedrals. And it's not just about product market fit, it's about soul market fit. The soul of your user, the pain they carry every day, the voice they can barely raise because they're told it's an illness, an inconvenience, a nice to have. Solving a problem means you position yourself as the answer when no one else offers one. It means being the hero no one expected but everyone needed. It cuts through marketing noise, excitements, shiny things, because your foundation is something unassailable, necessity. That necessity brings clarity to every decision from design to sales, from hiring to pitching, from strategy to execution. It forces brutal prioritization. What truly moves the needle in easing pain? Which features are just glitter that distracts from the core? Here's the brutal truth. Every investor, founder, and leader needs seared into their mind. If you're not solving a real problem, the fantasy will collapse. It's only a matter of time. Markets evolve. Customers get smarter. The truth has a way of coming out, and when it does, the fall is ruthless. You lose trust. You lose relevance. Worse, you lose your soul. But you don't have to play that game. You can choose to build differently. You can choose to look beneath the surface, to value substance over style, to listen harder than you ever have before, to obsess over that one problem you're uniquely positioned to solve, because honestly, no one else does. Imagine creating a business, a movement, a network that exists because it frees people from the fantasies that trap them, to make their lives better with real tools, real answers, real hope. Imagine connecting to investors and partners who don't just chase the next hot thing, but who know this raw truth and want to stand shoulder to shoulder through the hard grind of real problem solving. Because that's where the rare and powerful minds meet, where synergy isn't about pretending to fit in, but about blazing a new path, fueled by clarity and purpose. Here's what needs to happen next. Stop pretending. Stop chasing applause and easy wins. Start listening. Start going deep into the mess of pain and frustration your customers live every day. Ask the ugly questions they don't want to admit. Dive into the failures you fear, and use that brutal first-hand insight as your compass. Develop solutions that don't ask for hope, but demand action. Because when you build from reality, not fantasy, every step forward feels like a battle won and a promise fulfilled. Remember, the greatest breakthroughs come not from dreaming alone, but from marrying that dream to cold, hard reality. Not from crafting perfect stories, but from confronting imperfect problems with fierce honesty and relentless grit. Not from chasing trends, but from solving pains people have waited years to fix. The world belongs to those who do this. Not in theory, not from comfortable conference rooms, but in the trenches where real problems rear their ugly heads. This kind of work is exhausting, heartbreaking, and endlessly demanding. But it's the only work that lasts, the only work that changes lives, the only work that frees individuals from the illusions of comfort and convenience. If the call inside you is loud, if the fire burns while others sleep, if you're ready for a game that's real, not pretend, then align yourself with those few who refuse to waste time on fantasies. Build that solution, solve that painful problem, change the game for real, because in the end, that's what matters. Not selling another dream that evaporates in sunlight, but creating the change that wakes the world up, breaks the chains people didn't even know they carried, and unleashes the power of freedom, the power that comes from solving what actually hurts. That is the path, that is the fight, and that is the promise of everything you've worked for.